The movie begins with a teenage high school girl named Vada waking up in the morning. She heads to the bathroom to brush her teeth, but dozes off with the toothbrush still in her mouth until her younger sister, Amelia, calls out to her and wakes her up. Vada quickly gets dressed, prepares breakfast, and shortly after, her boyfriend Nick, who is also her classmate, picks her up. On the way to school, they play their favorite songs, enjoy the ride together, and stop so Nick can grab his favorite coffee, while he also buys Vada her favorite ice cream. When they finally get to school, they head to class, and the school day begins as usual, until suddenly, Vada receives a text from Amelia asking her to call right away. Vada asks her teacher for permission to go to the restroom, and once there, she calls Amelia and hears her sounding scared. Shocked, Vada asks why she's afraid, and Amelia admits that she feels like she's grown up because she just got her first period. Vada reassures her, calming her down by explaining that it's something completely normal that all girls go through. She promises to take her out later that night and gives her advice on how to deal with it. After hanging up, Vada heads further into the restroom, where she runs into her classmate, the famous dancer and performer Maya, who happens to be one of her idols. Excited, Vada texts Amelia right away, telling her she just met the popular star Maya. From a distance, she watches Maya applying makeup, and without hesitation, Vada tells her she doesn't need it because she's already beautiful. Just moments later, both of them hear the sudden sound of gunshots. An armed gang has stormed the school, killing many students. Terrified, Vada and Maya rush into a bathroom stall, lock the door, and hide, trembling as the sound of gunfire echoes through the school. At that moment, Vada pulls out her phone and quickly sends a message to someone, but right after, she and Maya hold their breath when they hear the bathroom door creak open. A few seconds later, they see their classmate Matt slip inside, trying to hide as well. He's terrified, sobbing uncontrollably because his brother was just killed by the attackers. Matt crawls under the stall door to hide with them, and the girls are shaken by the sight of his grief and fear. Luckily, the police arrive soon after and manage to capture the gang. From that moment on, Vada's life changes completely. She shuts herself off, spending most of her time locked inside her room, barely speaking to anyone, sinking into deep depression. One day, however, her mother Patricia, her father Carlos, and her little sister Amelia manage to bring her out to sit with them at the table. That's when Amelia shows her the list of victims, the names of the students who died during the attack. As Vada scans the list, she spots the names of her friends, and the weight of it all hits her hard. Overcome with sadness, she tries to hide her feelings, forcing a smile to reassure Patricia that she's okay. After standing up from the table, the rest of the family rises too, but Vada insists she's fine and tells them she just wants to take a shower. She spends a long time in the bathroom, and once she's done, she heads back to her room, attempting to sleep. Suddenly, her phone buzzes with a notification from Instagram. When she checks, she's surprised to see a message from Maya. Vada replies, reassuring her, and the two begin talking, getting to know each other better. Maya admits she's scared because she's alone at home. Her parents are away on a work trip to Japan. She invites Vada to come over if she wants, and Vada promises she will, before ending the chat to try and rest. The next morning, Vada wakes up startled, quickly takes a shower, and gets ready as Patricia drives her to meet Nick, who's waiting for her at the park. Sitting together, Nick opens up, telling Vada how deeply shaken he is by the deaths of their classmates, confessing that he can't stop asking himself why he wasn't one of the ones who died. Nick comes to realize that God must have kept him alive for a reason, that one day he's meant to stand against crime and fight for justice, upholding the law in the future. After that conversation, Vada returns home to find Amelia and Patricia watching the news coverage of the tragedy. She grabs her phone, opens Maya's Instagram page, and scrolls through her performance videos. Then, she tells Patricia that she's heading over to Nick's, but instead, she decides to go to Maya's house, because Maya is the only one who went through the same horror and could truly understand how she feels. When she arrives, Maya is already waiting behind the door, as if she had been expecting her. She welcomes Vada warmly and lets her in, and Vada is immediately impressed by the interior design, assuming Maya was the one who decorated it. But Maya explains that it was actually her parents, both artists, who chose everything in the house. She adds that she's often alone because her parents travel constantly for work. Vada then tells Maya how much she admires her dance videos, saying they always make her feel like she can change her life. Suddenly, a message from Nick pops up on Vada's phone, telling her that Matt's brother's funeral will be tomorrow. She shuts her phone off right away, not wanting to answer the repeated calls from Patricia, who is only trying to check on her. Vada doesn't want any interruptions. She then asks Maya if she would go to the funeral with her, and Maya agrees. Right after, Vada surprises her with a strange question. She asks if Maya has been having nightmares since the the attack. But Maya shocks her by confessing that she can't sleep at all. The next day, Vada and Maya attend Matt's brother's funeral, and Matt approaches them afterward, thanking them sincerely for being there. Later that day, Vada returns home, quietly placing photos of her friends who were killed into a box between her books, overcome with sadness. She heads to the bathroom, still shaken, unable to accept that her friends died in such a brutal way. The weight of her grief and racing thoughts consume her, leaving her restless, unable to sleep through the night. The next day, Amelia tries to pull Vada out of the state she's in by asking her to go out and grab a drink together, but Vada refuses, staying glued to her spot. Amelia keeps insisting for a while, but when she realizes it's no use, she gives up and leaves. Later, Vada sits in front of the TV, watching her favorite show, when suddenly a message from Maya pops up, inviting her to come over. Vada agrees and heads to Maya's place, where the two of them watch the show together until Vada starts to feel hungry. They both head to the kitchen, cook something, and sit down to eat. While eating, Vada asks Maya about her love life, but Maya tells her she doesn't really do anything except dance. Still, after the shooting, her mental state has collapsed, and she hasn't been able to go back to her dance classes. Later that night, the two of them are lying on the bed watching a movie. For the first time, Maya feels safe and calm because Vada is there with her, and eventually she falls asleep. When Vada quietly tries to leave, Maya stirs and asks her to stay until she's fully asleep. Vada agrees, sitting by her side until she drifts off, then finally heads home. On the way, she calls Nick to explain that she told her mom she was at his place, just so there wouldn't be any drama. She admits to Nick that she was actually with Maya because Maya lives alone and is going through a really hard time. When Vada returns home, she opens her laptop and starts watching shows and news programs about child protection and the need for schools to be more secure against attacks and criminals. Eventually, exhaustion hits her, and she shuts the laptop, trying to sleep. But as always, she's haunted by nightmares, waking up in a panic. The following day, Patricia decides to bring in a therapist, Dr. Anna, to help her daughter cope with the trauma. During their first session, Anna asks Vada what she usually does when she feels overwhelmed, especially after the incident. Vada admits that sometimes she can sleep for up to 14 straight hours, while other times she spends endless hours binge-watching shows. Anna looks at her closely and says she senses that Vada is hiding something, promising her that whatever she says will stay between them. Vada finally opens up to Anna, admitting that she's not okay and that she hasn't been able to adjust since the shooting. She confesses that she hides her feelings in front of Patricia and Marcus so they won't worry about her. Anna then pulls a book from her bag, filled with psychological exercises and questions, and asks Vada to answer them based on how she truly feels so they can better understand her state of mind. Later, Patricia takes Vada and Amelia out to get drinks together, trying to lighten the mood. But the outing takes a turn when Patricia brings up the idea of Vada returning to school. Frustrated, Vada refuses to even get out of the car, and the family ends up going back home. Exhausted, Vada crashes on the couch while Amelia sits beside her, filming videos on her phone. Out of the blue, Vada receives a message from Matt asking to meet up. She goes to see him, and the way they look at each other says everything. They're both carrying the same pain. Still, Vada does her best to comfort him, standing by his side and offering him support as he grieves his brother's death. The next day, she shuts off her phone and heads over to Maya's. Without much thought, the two decide to hang out by the pool and share a joint. While Maya manages to relax a little, Vada quickly loses control. She becomes jittery, starts rambling nonstop, and eventually grows so overwhelmed that she stumbles and falls into the water. Later that evening, she returns home, where Patricia once again brings up the topic of going back to school. Irritated, Vada storms off to her room and video calls Maya, confiding in her fears. She admits she's terrified of going back to school, haunted by the thought of reliving the incident. Maya explains that her parents decided she should study from home until her mental state improves. Vada feels frustrated, upset by the pressure her own mom keeps putting on her. That night, she forces herself to sleep so she can face school the next morning. But when she does go back, the fear is written all over her face. Every step she takes is filled with anxiety, and she's so on edge that she refuses to even enter the bathroom, terrified that the nightmare might repeat itself. Her panic peaks when she accidentally steps on an empty soda can, the sound echoing like gunfire, and she's so shaken that she ends up wetting herself out of sheer terror. Even after everything, when Vada returns home, she tries to put on a front, acting as though the day went fine and her condition is finally improving. But the very next day, she makes a reckless decision. She buys drugs and takes them before heading to school, thinking it will help her face the fear inside her. Unfortunately, the opposite happens. In class, she starts acting erratically, dancing around and moving strangely, shocking her classmates and even her teacher. At one point, she bites into her pen, spilling ink all over her mouth, leaving everyone in disbelief. disbelief. Embarrassed, she asks to be excused and heads toward the bathroom, but still under the influence, she loses balance and falls down the stairs. Shaken, she sends a message to Nick, asking him to come pick her up and take her home. Meanwhile, Amelia is horrified by her sister's condition and tries to help, but Vada brushes her off and heads straight to bed. Later, she wakes up to a call from Matt, who tells her she had texted him earlier, admitting that she'd taken drugs. Concerned, he just wants to check on her. Vada then invites him over to watch a movie together at her place. Wanting to make sure she's okay, Matt agrees and comes by. They sit on the couch, watch TV, joke around, and for a brief moment, Vada feels normal again. But suddenly, Matt remembers he has a problem at home and tells her he needs to leave. Relieved that she seems all right, he smiles, says goodbye, and heads out. Shortly after, Vada overhears Patricia joking around in the kitchen with Amelia. They don't realize she can hear them, and the laughter stings. She feels excluded, bothered, and retreats to her room. The next morning, Vada goes through her routine, brushing her teeth, putting on makeup, trying to present herself differently. Amelia knocks on her door and asks what she's doing, but Vada, on edge, snaps at her. Almost immediately, guilt washes over her, and she steps out to apologize, only to find Amelia gone. Saddened, she gets dressed, slips on her shoes, and prepares to leave. Amelia, full of innocence, approaches her one last time and asks why she's wearing makeup. Vada brushes her off coldly and tells her to let Patricia know she doesn't want to ride to school today. Vada decides to head over to Maya's place, where the two of them drink together, letting loose in a way that makes them both feel free, if only for a moment. Their laughter grows bolder, and soon, in a burst of reckless energy, they sneak out late at night and start dancing in the middle of the street. The air is electric, their joy contagious, and for the first time in a long while, Vada feels alive again. But because she's not fully in control, she ends up crashing at Maya's house to avoid her family noticing the state she's in. The next morning, when she returns home, she finds her entire family waiting anxiously by the door. Their worried expressions corner her, and in a panic, Vada lies, telling them she was with Nick. But the lie collapses quickly when they reveal that Nick had been calling all night, desperate to find her. Embarrassed and overwhelmed, Vada mutters that she's just exhausted and bolts to her room. Patricia and Carlos follow, but Patricia asks Carlos to step aside. She gently confronts Vada, wondering if she's gotten involved with some boy and is hiding something shameful. Cornered again, Vada admits she had been at Maya's, that they'd been drinking, and she couldn't make it home. Dismissing the weight of the situation, she brushes past her mom, hops in the shower, and tries to wash away the guilt. Later, she visits Nick to apologize for disappearing, explaining she was with Maya because she wasn't feeling well. But Nick, drained from carrying his own grief, doesn't hold back this time. He tells her bluntly that everyone was traumatized by the tragedy, but most of them have managed to move forward and reclaim their lives. He says he's given her space and time, but now he's at his limit. He doesn't know how much longer he can handle being around her self-destruction. His words cut deep. Shocked and hurt, Vada lashes out, and the two end their relationship in anger. Reeling, Vada turns to Matt. She vents about Nick, but Matt tries to calm her down, explaining that Nick lashed out because he's scared for her. He shares that even after losing his brother, he had to find a way to move forward. Otherwise, his grief would have consumed him. Still, he admits he hasn't forgotten the laughter and the bond they all once shared. Vada, realizing she's been projecting her pain onto him, apologizes for reminding him so much of his brother. She tells him he's free to talk to her about him whenever he wants. In that moment, something shifts. The way they look at each other reveals a quiet, unspoken connection, a spark of mutual admiration, slowly taking root. Suddenly, Vada leans closer to Matt, searching for comfort, but he freezes. Conflicted, he admits that he's confused and doesn't know how to process his emotions. Embarrassed and heartbroken, Vada quickly gets out of the car, tears streaming down her face as she walks away. Later, when Maya texts her, she ignores the message and shuts herself in her room. That night, Amelia quietly slips into Vada's bed. With tears in her eyes, she confesses that she feels guilty, thinking Vada is angry with her for calling too much. But Vada reassures her. It's the opposite. She tells Amelia that she's the person she loves most in the world, but she's just too broken and overwhelmed to show it. To comfort her sister, Vada shares something deeply personal. During the shooting, when she thought she was going to die, the only person she could think of was Amelia. She even sent her a text saying she loved her, convinced those would be her last words. Amelia lights up with relief, clinging to her sister, begging her never to leave her again. They fall asleep together, wrapped in a bond stronger than ever. The next day, Carlos decides to help in his own way. He takes Vada to a quiet spot by the ocean. There, he encourages her to scream at the top of her lungs, to let all the anger, grief, and fear pour out into the open air. The release is raw, cathartic, and for the first time in weeks, Vada feels lighter. With a fragile sense of hope, she heads to check on Maya, but when she gets there, no one answers the door. Panic sets in and Vada slips through the back entrance. Inside, she notices a half-empty glass of alcohol on the counter. Her heart races. She rushes to the sauna, only to find Maya unconscious. Desperate, Vada shakes her awake and carries her to bed. When Maya finally comes to, she admits she can't keep living like this, trapped in the shadow of the tragedy. She confesses she'd been spiraling, dangerously close to giving up. But instead of surrendering, Maya makes a decision. Tomorrow, she's going back to her dance classes. It's the only way she can reclaim a sense of purpose. Vada, holding back tears, promises to stand by her no matter what. Touched, Maya smiles for the first time in a long while. To mark the moment, they take a picture together, a fragile symbol of survival, of choosing life despite the pain. Later, Vada attends her second session with Dr. Anna. Looking over her notes, Anna notices that Vada has written the word fear again and again. She gently asks her what was the moment she felt the most afraid. Vada admits that it wasn't just about the shooting itself. It was being back at school, realizing that everyone else, even Nick, the boy she loved, seemed to move on with their lives, thinking about their futures. Meanwhile, she felt paralyzed. Left behind. Breaking down, Vada confesses how much it hurt to lose Nick, how much she loved him, and how unfair it felt that a group of strangers with guns could shatter so many innocent lives. For the first time, she lets everything out, sobbing as Anna listens quietly. But after releasing her pain, Vada makes a choice. She doesn't want to drown in it anymore. She goes home, apologizes to her mom, and tells her she never meant to cause her so much worry, that she was just fighting a battle inside that she didn't know how to share. In the final moments, Vada goes to see Maya at her dance class. She texts her, saying she's waiting outside so they can go out and breathe. Just the two of them. Maya smiles and replies that she's almost finished. For a fleeting second, there's hope. But then Vada looks at her phone again and sees the news. Another school shooting. This time, 12 more students are dead. Her face falls. The screen lingers on her expression as the weight of it all crashes back down. The cycle has repeated, and it seems this time, she may not recover. The film ends on this haunting note. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts about the summary in the comments. Stay safe. I love you all. Goodbye.